You buy a sweater online, it arrives, you try it on, it fits, the color works, the price was reasonable, and yet within hours you have printed the return label. You tell yourself it's too similar to something you already own, or that you don't really need it, or that you'll find something better next week. You pack it back into the bag it came in, tape it shut, and drop it at the post office. Relief washes over you. The money comes back to your account. You did not lose anything. You tell yourself you were careful, discerning. But then you do it again, and again. Half of what you buy never stays. The packages come and go. Your closet stays the same size. Your bank account never really changes, and you wonder why you keep doing this. It looks like indecision. It looks like perfectionism. But if you look closer, it is something else entirely. Something the returns industry does not want you to understand. Let me be clear. You are not broken. You are not wasteful or difficult or impossible to please. What you are is someone whose brain has learned that returning feels safer than keeping, and that safety, once learned, is very hard to unlearn. This behavior makes perfect sense. It is not about the sweater or the lamp or the shoes. It is about the gap between wanting something and letting yourself have it. That gap is not a flaw. It is a protection. And once you see that, the returns stop feeling like a problem and start feeling like a message. Here is where this shows up most. You are standing in your kitchen, holding a kitchen gadget you bought 3 days ago. You have already used it once, it worked fine, but now you are reading reviews again, comparing prices, wondering if you overpaid. You check the return policy. 30 days, plenty of time. You put the gadget back in the box. You tell yourself you will decide later. But later never comes, only the return. Or you buy a dress for a wedding, you wear it once, you get compliments, and then you return it. Not because it was damaged, but because you cannot imagine owning it. Owning it would mean committing to it, and commitment, even to a dress, feels heavy. The behavioral concept here is something called post-purchase rumination. It is not indecision, it is a loop. You buy something, then your brain searches for reasons the purchase was a mistake. Did you really need it? Could you have found it cheaper? What if you stop liking it tomorrow? These questions are not rational, they are emotional. They come from a deep fear of making the wrong choice, and the only way to silence the questions is to undo the choice. Return the item, erase the decision. The relief is immediate, but so is the pattern. Because next week, you will see something else you want, you will buy it, and the loop will start again. You learned this somewhere. Maybe you grew up in a home where money was tight, and every purchase was questioned. Maybe you were taught that wanting things was selfish, and keeping things was indulgent. Maybe you once bought something you loved and someone made you feel foolish for it, so you learned to keep your options open. Do not commit, do not attach. Returning is a way of saying, I was never really serious about this. And if you are never serious, you can never be wrong. But here is the part most people miss. Returning half of what you buy is not about the money. It's about control. When you keep an item, you are stuck with it. It sits in your home. It becomes part of your life. You might regret it. You might stop using it. That uncertainty is uncomfortable. But when you return it, you regain control. You hit reset. The transaction vanishes. Your bank account looks the same as before. Your space looks the same. You have not changed anything. And for a brain that fears change, that is deeply soothing. The return label is not a sign of pickiness. It is a sedative. Let's look at the financial side of this. On the surface, returning seems smart. You're not wasting money. You're not accumulating clutter. You're a minimalist, a conscious consumer, a careful steward of your resources. And all of that is true. But here is what is also true. The act of buying and returning creates a low hum of mental friction. You're constantly tracking deadlines, packing boxes, driving to drop-off points. Your attention is fragmented, and the energy you spend on returns is energy you are not spending on anything else. Financially, you're breaking even, but psychologically, you're paying a tax, the tax of never letting a decision settle. The brain does something unexpected here. It starts to confuse the act of buying with the act of owning. You get the dopamine of the purchase, the package arrives, you open it. That's the best part. And then the best part ends. Owning is quieter, less exciting. So you return the item to chase the feeling again next week. The return becomes a way to keep the shopping loop going forever. You were not a consumer, you were a renter of new things, and the rental period is exactly as long as the return window. Your relationship with this pattern will change over time. In your 20s, returning feels like a hack. You get to try trends for free. You dress differently every weekend. In your 30s, it becomes more subtle. You buy nicer things, but you still return them. You tell yourself you are curating. In your 40s, the returns slow down, but the pattern remains. You buy a grill for the backyard. You keep it for 2 weeks. You return it. You tell yourself you will buy one next year. The years pass. The grill never stays. The same habit feels different at each stage, but the architecture is identical. You want the option to change your mind more than you want the thing itself. This behavior is an emotional regulation strategy. It reduces your stress by keeping your life reversible. Every purchase is temporary. Every decision can be unmade. That creates a sense of safety, like a safety net woven from return policies. You never have to live with a mistake because you never let a mistake become permanent. The returns are not about the items. They are about the terror of commitment, not to a person, to a lamp, to a pair of boots, to the small, mundane choices that make up a life. If you can return the lamp, you never have to admit that you wanted it. And if you never admit you wanted it, you never have to face the fear that wanting things makes you vulnerable. Think of this behavior as an anchor. A return policy is an anchor to a version of yourself that never makes mistakes, that never buys the wrong thing, that never overspends. The anchor kept you safe in a time when making a mistake with money had real consequences. Maybe you watched a parent regret a purchase. Maybe you regretted one yourself. So you built a system. Buy, try, return. The system works. It protects you from loss. But here is what anchors also do. They keep you from moving. You can't keep the thing that might bring you joy, because keeping it would mean letting go of the anchor. And letting go of the anchor feels like drowning, even when the water is calm. So here is where we land. Not with a plan to stop returning, not with a rule about keeping everything you buy, just with this. You are not difficult or wasteful or broken. You are someone who learned that safety lives in reversibility. That was a smart lesson. It saved you from regret, it protected your money, it gave you control in a world that often feels uncontrollable. But you are allowed to keep something, not because it's perfect, not because you will love it forever, but simply because you wanted it. And wanting it is enough. The thing you keep doesn't have to be your forever thing, it just has to be your today thing. And today, you are allowed to let the box stay unpacked, or opened and unpacked. The return label doesn't have to be your first instinct, it can just be an option. And you can choose not to take it, not because you are fixed, but because for once, the safety of keeping something might feel just as good as the safety of sending it back.